Well, earlier I spoke to the Lebanese-Australian journalist Rania Abouzeid, who's reported extensively on Islamic militants in the Middle East. She joined me from Beirut, and I began by asking her whether those who declared an Islamic state were living in a fantasy land.
Well, it depends on your definition of fantasy land, but no, I mean, this Islamic State that they have been fighting for is increasingly taking shape across the Syrian-Iraqi borders. ISIS has held territory in Syria for well over a year now, and of course this month we saw the group advance into some key Iraqi cities, including Mosul. So this Islamic State is increasingly moving from an idea into an actual territory across the Syrian-Iraqi border.
So what we're effectively seeing, Rania, is the redrawing, the abolition of all the borders, or some of the borders, that were set by the former colonial masters of the Middle East just about a century ago.
What's happening on the ground, what's happening on paper are two different things. The border obviously still exists on paper. However, for all practical terms, it's been very fluid. It's been a very porous border for quite some time. I mean, that's the reason why Al-Qaeda in Iraq managed to send a group of 8 men into Syria 5 months into the Syrian uprising to establish a new affiliate inside Syria. They crossed that porous border. They were smuggled in. And then, of course, we saw the movement of ISIS fighters between Syria and Iraq, and we've been seeing that for well over a year now. So, it's becoming increasingly almost like the new AfPak sort of area in the Middle East.
So what's to prevent all these groups from coalescing around al-Baghdadi, around IS, around the former ISIS?
Well, the fact that it's had a falling out with Al-Qaeda, for example, is no small thing. A lot of people still, a lot of the jihadis still follow the Al-Qaeda's tactics, its strategy, and the word of its overall leader. So that's why it'll be very interesting to see what Al-Qaeda Central says about this.
So, Rani, has it come to this that the best hope for Baghdad and indeed Washington is the potential for infighting in this new coalition?
We've already seen examples of this infighting. In Iraq, for example, the Islamic State has allied itself with former Ba'athists. There's very little that sort of unites these groups, and we're already seeing skirmishes between the Islamic State of Iraq and Asham and some of its Iraqi allies.
So do you think that ultimately their ability, their propensity to fight amongst themselves is going to be more effective at defeating them than anything the Maliki government throws at them, for instance?
I don't have a crystal ball. We'll have to wait and see. But the fact is that this declaration of an Islamic State is going to draw recruits, is going to draw lots of men who are fighting for exactly that ideal and who now consider the Islamic State group, formerly known as ISIS, as the best group to try and put that theory into practice, if you like. So they're also going to see, a lot of recruits come into their ranks as well because of this.
So, I mean, in a sense, ISIS or IS has done something that Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda at the time could only dream of doing.
Yes, exactly. This is the ultimate goal of Al-Qaeda and other Islamist groups, to restore a caliphate that ended in about 1924. So this is a very significant development.
So 10 years down the line, I know you don't like crystal balls. Where do you see this developing?
10 years is a long time in the Middle East.
And anywhere else too. Okay. Thank you very much, Rania.